So last time I gave you guys an introduction to how I personally was reintroduced, but really introduced for the first time to distance running. And we ended with me saying that I went down a rabbit hole searching for other benefits of distance running, and I am here now to share with you some of what I found. So let's say you let's say you go out and you go on a 45-minute run, an easy conversational pace 45-minute run. At the very minimum, here's what you get. You're not sitting down. And as crazy as that sounds, 45-minute period where you're not sitting down, how often does that happen? You're not on a computer, smartphone, or watching TV. Think about it. How often do you get a 45-minute period during the day where you're not on the computer, on the smartphone, or watching TV? Like it probably happens, but if you really think about it, it's more rare than you might first think. And you're outdoors for 45 minutes, probably getting some natural sunlight. Natural sunlight is actually, I know that like nowadays everyone's putting out sunscreen whenever there's just like a little bit of bright sun, but natural sunlight is actually very good for you. It's we don't understand all of the benefits, but people that are outdoors in bathing in the sunlight, you know, kids that are outdoors a lot, they're nearsighted less. I bet you didn't know this. Um, Sunlight causes your cells on your skin to produce vitamin D. Can you imagine that? Like it's not something you eat, yet it's creating vitamins in your body. Anyway, at the very minimum, you're getting these things. So physical, and then there are known physical benefits of distance running. So it's the, in my opinion, based on what I know now, it's the healthiest way to utilize our body fat, to use up body fat, and to also to reduce body fat in the process. More on that later, actually. I will probably do a whole video by itself on this fact. If you train the right way, you don't overtrain, you're gonna have a stronger heart. You have stronger bones, tendons, and muscles. Now, you're not gonna get jacked distance running, but the muscles on your legs are definitely going to get stronger, and also tendons and bones. And to a certain extent, to a small extent, the muscles in your core and your upper body will improve as well, but to a much lesser extent, obviously. And this list can go on and on. There's many physical health benefits. And I just want to mention that in my search, I found that there is a theory that we human beings were actually evolved for distance running. So this is only a hypothesis, because this is archaeologists coming up with a hypothesis based on fossils and like records of hundreds of thousands of years ago, if not millions of years ago. And the hypothesis is that we human beings at that time, you know, I'm not even sure we were classified as human Homo sapiens, but we probably needed a decent amount of distance running, or just running in general, to survive. And evolutionarily, the people that had developed traits that are more conducive to running longer distances, survived better, and then passed on these traits on. And now we, the descendants of those ancestors, still maintain a lot of those traits that are just conducive to running long distances. For instance, compared to our other mammal friends, especially our close relatives in chimpanzees and gorillas and monkeys, we're much less furry. This allows us to dissipate heat much easier when we have a prolonged duration physical activity. We're bipeds, so we walk on two legs as opposed to four legs. and this makes running a lot more efficient. It doesn't make us faster. Quadrupeds are faster. Their top speeds are faster, but bipeds are more efficient. I don't know if that. I don't know if I can explain that in a better way to make more sense. Like if a car has 8 cylinders, it's going to have a much higher top speed, but a car with 4 cylinders can be made to be more fuel efficient. I think that's true. And we developed huge glute muscles. So glute muscles are muscles on our butt, and these are muscles. These are the motors for running, and it also affects things like walking, balance, standing upright. But to give you a comparison, compared to monkeys, chimpanzees, and gorillas, they have almost no glute muscles, and that's because they don't run like we do. And then we have long limbs, we have long legs. Like compared to the rest of our body, our legs are actually quite long compared to other animals, and that just makes for more efficient running, more efficient travel. And we actually have, compared to the rest of our body, we have some of the biggest joints and tendons right around our feet and ankles, and they act as huge shock absorbers for repeated impact. And it's hypothesized that this was developed as an evolutionary advantage because prehistoric men, you know, and women ran a lot. This is only a hypothesis, and but if you really think about it, a lot of it does make sense, and basically, we were evolved to run long distances, and doing what our bodies were evolved to do naturally is, or not doing, a lack of doing what our bodies were evolved to do could potentially have health consequences, whereas just doing a normal amount of stuff that our bodies are evolved to do is probably good for us. Now you could disagree with that point, but to me that sort of makes sense. Oh yeah, and there are many other little clues that indicate that prehistoric men you know, uh, were inclined for these type of activities, or rather out in the wild, whether it's to go find food or travel to meet other people. Prehistoric men just had needed this to survive. Like people with with characteristics that aided distance running survived and passed on their characteristics at a higher rate. And now I'm going to describe some. Now the next couple slides I'm going to describe sort of a little bit more of the mental aspects, which how distance running affect us and benefit us mentally. So so to continue with the theme of evolution, we've we've evolved such that after a certain amount of physical activity, our bodies will generate. I believe the pre, the prevailing science accredits a neurotransmitter called endorphin. Our body generate endorphins to make us just kind of feel good. It numbs the physical pain that we're enduring, and it it gives us a good sensation. And it also makes us happy. So I preface this, or I say that you know prevailing science is accrediting this to endorphins is because you know down to a molecular level we don't really know. Researchers can see that endorphins are being produced, and researchers you know they 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 note that the person is feeling good, but is it exactly the endorphins that are making us feeling good, or is this something else that's also being produced? People don't really know. Like, I don't think we know for sure yet, but the short of it is that we've evolved such that after some duration of running, we start feeling these slightly euphoric feelings to keep us going. And people describe this as a runner's high. Running is probably one of the uh, best activities to trigger these good feelings. So, so evolutionarily, this gave because if you believe that prehistoric humans needed to do a lot of running, this mechanism allowed us to continue to pursue those goals, to continue running, even as our bodies are like wearing down a little bit. It masks any kind of pain. It numbs us to, bad feelings and gives us good feelings to, to allow us to go on. And just as a very side note, there's a similar phenomenon which occurs when we become famished. So most people probably don't experience this ever, but if you become hungry and you just continue to not eat and you become hungrier and hungrier, you will at some point you will experience some sensations that cause you to become more alert, cause you to become a little bit more focused, and and the reason this happens is when when in prehistoric times when humans, it's food is hard to come by. So when we're hungry, when we really need to find some food, we get this jolt of energy and focus to allow us to continue to pursue our quest for food, whatever it may be. And people who developed this naturally had an advantage and survived more and passed on these characteristics to us, their descendants. And and runner's high and this fasting high, that they're somewhat similar, which is why I wanted to make a side note about this here. And when you fast, at some point you get this feeling of increased focus, attention, energy, and it's my personal belief that some people took this and thought it was like some enlightened feeling, and it's they thought it's like a godly feeling, and that's why fasting is now incorporated into certain religions. And you know what they're holding as a sacred religion is actually just them mis- mistaken an evolutionary characteristic that helped us survive when food was hard to come by. Um, but I won't delve deeper into that because that's not what this is about. But I just want to mention that that's something sort of my research into this it's kind of an interesting thing. It's an interesting point that I hit upon while I'm researching this all the benefits of distance running. And once you come to like running a little bit, running gives you a sense of accomplishment. Like for instance, if you go out and run 4 miles, that's not a small distance. That's not something that anyone just does on any given day. So when we actively perform these activities and strive towards a goal, we get a sense of accomplishment. And distance running definitely does that for us. And this sense of accomplishment is highly associated with another neurotransmitter called dopamine. Um, However, it's just like endorphins, we're not sure if it's actually dopamine, but anyway. So with distance running, the sense of accomplishment we achieve when we're complete, when we have run a certain amount of miles, I want to say the sense of accomplishment is well earned. It is very well earned. So to give you a small contrast, um, there's there are a lot of video games out there that trigger a similar sense of dopamine release, uh, like games on your mobile phone, even that everyone plays on the subway and whatnot. And there, you play this game, you trick a boss or you do something clever, and you pass a level and you get a sense of accomplishment. There, that sense of accomplishment, I want to say, is was easy to earn. Whereas here, this sense of accomplishment was hard to earn. When when I want to say overall for the long term, experiencing accomplishments that are well earned, that you had to put a lot into to earn, this trains you to be better than than things like video games, which gives you a cheap and easy sense of accomplishment. So, so feelings like a sense of accomplishment or feelings of happiness that you get from runner's high. So feelings that come from within us on a molecular level. These feelings are things that we human beings need constantly to stay happy, to do well in life. So if we lack these feelings, if for whatever reason in life we're kind of struggling a little bit, or where we're hitting some roadblocks in one way or another in life, and we're just constantly living day after day without any good feelings, the, our minds and bodies will crave to find these good feelings in from somewhere, anywhere. And at that point, our willpower, our conscious mind, so our subconscious will start craving like these good feelings, but our conscious mind will not be strong enough to resist our subconscious, and we will give in to unhealthy habits. This this could include like alcohol use, drug use, you know, um, just binge eating, uh, and I'm sure if you really think about it, there could be more. So so exercise and distance running being one of the most effective exercises is one way to give yourself a little boost, uh, you know, to so that you don't crave these feelings from more unhealthy habits. And now, I'm going to talk about exercise as a stress reliever. So we human beings, we when we become stressed, we enter a mode called fight or flight. I'm not sure where this name came from, but basically, fight or flight happens whenever we're in a tense situation. Fight or flight. Uh, so fight or flight is whenever we're just a little bit stressed. We're in a situation where we need to be focused. Our bodies enter into like a slightly different mode, and there's variances. You can just enter mildly into fight or flight, or you can enter like drastically into fight or flight. And in our modern lives, we actually enter into this fight or flight state a lot. It can happen while you're at work. It can happen while you're driving. And I live in New Jersey, and I sometimes drive over to New York. And whenever I drive over to New York, I'm stressed. I'm stressed out. And fight or flight, we can even, enter into this fight or flight state when we're watching a movie or watching sports, like when we're really focused on it. Like our whole body's so tense, and it's it, and like your body will shut down things like digestion, because it feels like at the current moment in a fight or flight situation, you don't actually need to, digestion is not high on the priority list. you know um, so right, so during fight or flight, our body is going to like an emergency state, and then we have more focus, we're more tense, our heart rate rises, our digestion slows. So 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 this is a state that we're in our modern lives we constantly go into, and and we also go into a slight, fight or flight state while we are running, while we're exerting ourselves physically. So so typically in prehistoric times, fight or flight is always tied, is coupled with physical exertion. When the person enters into a fight or flight situation, he or she is about to either fight or flight or run away. Like he or she is about to exert themselves physically. And so when we go on a distance run, once we stop during the recovery of that run, our bodies are designed to then withdraw from fight or flight state, both quickly and deeply. Just really just relax you, and just remove all the fight or flight, you know, symptoms. So so you know any physical activities probably will help this, but distance running or like endurance activities probably help this the most. And uh, basically, and I'll mention that. So in our modern day, we enter into fight or flight, but we're not necessarily exerting ourselves physically, and such tension and stress, it's actually harder for our bodies to release that tension or stress. That's why you know therapists tell you to breathe deeply, to to think calming thoughts. Like, and people are stressed out all the time. It leads to like heart disease, other things. It's because people are entering fight or flight, but then there's no physical exertion. And so and so you know our when we're done with a distance run, that recovery is the best way to relax and to remove our both mentally and physically from a fight or flight situation. Oops. All right, so this slide is all showing at once, but distance running will allow us to tap into a massive source of energy, and it will make us more energetic throughout the day. And how it does this is our bodies have a hierarchy of energy, from hierarchy of sources from which we draw energy. And at the very top is very instant energy. It's very fast to retrieve such energy, but that energy comes very quickly. However, it's very limited. And as we go lower down this pyramid, there's probably three or four stages. There's bigger and bigger pools of energy, but they're harder and harder to activate. And for most of us, so at the very bottom of this pyramid is energy that we can derive from oxygen and body fat. And and even for a skinny guy like myself, like, you know the amount of body fat that we have that we can utilize for energy is tremendous. It's like a ridiculous amount of energy. And but we rarely, in our modern days, we rarely actually tap into our body fat for energy, or we tap into it just a little bit. We just get a trickle of it when we could be getting a flood of it. And and running long distances for long periods, running for like 40 plus minutes, just kind of opens up that gate more and more to allow us to just throughout the day, even when we're not running, to just derive energy from all the sources that are available to us. And and I can tell you from my own experience that I feel more energy on a day where I do a 4 mile run than on days before I started running. And on my rest days, which there are a lot, I only run 2 or 3 days a week. So on the days where I don't run, there's even more energy now that I've been consistently running. And so all these sum up my research of benefits of distance running. And everything I've written down here, I've also I believe in through my own experience. And I urge people to think about these, think about these points, see if they make sense to you, and try it out for yourself. See if you have similar experiences, because if only if you also believe them, believe that distance running has these benefits, will you be able to adopt this lifestyle more easily.